It's Shawn Lam from Streaming Media Producer, and we're here live at the Teradek Cube at NAB 2013. This is sponsored by Ustream and obviously Teradek. I've been having a lot of fun at NAB 2013 and looking at all the different cameras, video switchers. We talked about Ustream and video hosting. Right now, definitely cameras is what I want to talk about. I brought in Chuck here from Canon. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you, Shawn.
One of the things that caught my eye this morning, and I don't know if a lot of people are talking about it, I don't know why, but it definitely caught my eye, was the Canon XA20 and 25. These are small form factor camcorders. And let me tell you why it caught my eye. I've been using, it's a different manufacturer, it's an FS700, but it's a large sensor video camera.
Right. And
for me, I really enjoy that camera for a lot of things, right? Shallow depth of field, low noise, the HD SDI output, its interchangeable lenses. I don't think I need to explain to you, or I mean the viewers here, why a large sensor camera, definitely has its advantages. I miss the camcorder days.
Yeah.
I definitely miss the days with the Canon XA20, servo zoom. A lot of those, the things that come with having a smaller sensor, built-in image stabilization and all that, and as a B camera, to pair up with my large sensor camera, I've been looking for a solution. I also know that some of my colleagues, the 5D Mark II, 5D Mark III, the 7D, 60D, all those Canon DSLR users, they're looking for camcorders as well if they're not moving up to the C100, C300, all that stuff. Anyways, I'm babbling on here. I want to ask you about that camera. Can you tell our viewers a little bit about the 20 and 25?
Oh, I'd be delighted. Yeah, the XA20 and 25 are the new entry-level professional HD camcorders from Canon. They're being shown here at NAB for the first time. We're expecting to have them out to the market during the month of June. Let's face it, there are a lot of choices out there for digital cameras and camcorders, and every one of them has got a certain strength, but the strength of the XA25 and 20, in my opinion, is the fact that they really combine so many good features that are useful for news gathering and also for documentary type interviews and various other types of coverage in a very, very small form factor at a very, very attractive price. So let's just say that to begin with, we have a camera that essentially is about the same size as the XA10 that it replaces, even smaller than our XF100. So a very lightweight and tiny, less than 2 pounds when you just take it out of the box.
And how much does this one cost, the two different models?
We're looking at $21.99 and $26.99 price points.
And what differentiates the two different models?
They're exactly the same camera, except that the XA25 has got the HD SDI port. Which is a very, very useful feature for a multi-camera shoot, or anytime that you're into a broadcast situation where you have essentially a way to record externally.
In my workflow, HD SDI is a must, especially when we talk about live video switchers. Why might video producers not want to use HDMI in a live video switching environment?
I think that one of the concerns that you're always going to have on HDMI is the fact that the connector is not nearly as robust as an HD SDI port. So there's a concern over a period of time of wear and tear. But at the same time, the HDMI has also got a little bit of limitation when it comes to distance, whereas on the HD SDI, you can essentially have as much cable length as you need. Yeah.
And the HD SDI is also, when I plug it in, it's on just like that. It connects. The HDMI, I see flickering, there's an interconnect, there's something CEC, I think it's called. It's definitely a different experience with the two. One's a lot more stable, a professional grade. The other is it is a consumer grade HDMI.
That's true. But it's nice to have both, because then you're flexible and you can just pick the one that fits the scene or fits the job at hand. Now, we should also mention, though, that there's a couple of other professional features on these camcorders that really are very interesting. We brought in Wi-Fi, and that's a great new feature to have in a portable camcorder, where it has essentially two main functions, one of which is to be able to take a finished clip and transmit it immediately to FTP site. And at the same time, we have ability to go through an iPad or another iOS device and actually control the camcorders remotely, so that you can see what you're shooting and then make adjustments to the camera settings, start and stop recording. And if you're set up on your external recording, then you've got even that much more flexibility in the entire setup.
So what type of users and scenarios do you see the Wi-Fi being used in?
Oh, very definitely. We're anticipating that on-location type news reportage. There's a lot of that type of thing going on. It doesn't necessarily require a streaming approach. Things that are being shot, for later broadcast, basically are a lot more convenient to get back to the network when they could be done wirelessly.
Definitely. Okay. Now I want to go back to the connections or the outputs. So HDSDI is available. There's a mini HDMI, and this is on the XA25. That mini HDMI and the HDSDI, are they both active at the same time?
Yes, they are. And on top of that, even when both are active, you can still be recording to the dual card slots as well. And that's another thing that I wanted to get into, is that with the XA20 and XA25, we now have ability to do simultaneous recording to the AVC HD version 2.0 as well as the MP4. So this gives ultimate flexibility in terms of what your output format is going to be. You can, for example, have a 1080 60p coming into your AVC HD as your archive footage that you're going to work with as kind of like your master roll.
And that's at 28 megabits per second on that side of the AVC HD.
Right, and if you go into the MP4, you've got a whole range there where basically you can step it up to 35 megabits per second if need be, but you can also step it down to 24, 17, and even all the way down to a 3 megabit per second if you're in an extremely bandwidth challenged situation.
Yeah.
So we've really listened to our customers to try and anticipate the conditions that they're going to be faced with and give them the tools to get the job done.
Yeah. Now last time I used a camcorder, it featured 3 sensors. Now the newer breed of large sensor cameras are single sensor. Now this camcorder is one of the new generations. There's just so many new generations of everything,
right,
but it has a single sensor. What's the size, and how are we getting away with processing everything on a single sensor that's a little bit larger than what we used to have, but not massively larger? It's not a large sensor.
Well, Canon has really been a leader in the development of CMOS sensor technology, and we've been on the market with that actually since the year 2000. Actually, we feel that in the current generation of technology with cameras like the XA25, you pair our CMOS sensor with our own Digic DV4 processor, you come out with an extremely high image quality, even in low light. So basically, you can get the straight 1920 by 1080 signal right off of that chip, but we have made it a little bit better than the previous generation.
Okay.
And we had a 1/3 inch chip in the XA10, and then we still use that in the XF105, for example. But here, we've gone to 1/2.84.
So a little bit larger if you don't know your fractions that well.
And what we're doing with that is we're not downsampling at all.
Okay.
We're actually then putting in an electronic stabilization feature on top of our optical image stabilization in the lens. So we're taking that 1920 by 1080 window and moving it around the larger real estate that you have in that slightly larger sensor, so that especially when you're on wide angle and you're doing handheld, that you're able to overcome the kind of movement that you're going to get in that situation, which is the camera up and down, camera left and right. This kind of thing, which is very difficult to stabilize optically, can now be done much better electronically.
So this is now lens-based stabilization in addition to sensor-based digital stabilization, but without that digital stabilization issue that you could have.
Yeah, because in the past, what you were really doing with the digital image stabilizer was cropping in and actually losing pixels.
Getting softer, yeah.
In this case, you are not. You're essentially maintaining your pixel resolution at all times. You're just basically moving around within a larger area.
I don't want to say poor man's Steadicam, but definitely the application for this, where the dual sense stabilization would come in handy, is someone handheld who's moving around, not on a tripod.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of shots where you're going to go low angle and you're going to use the handle that's on the camcorder to basically get the angle that you need for the shot, and that's the time when you're holding it like that you're more likely to shake it a little bit.
Now on the handle itself, I've seen inputs, audio inputs. So those are dual XLR inputs. Definitely
Right.
puts this in the professional realm, especially when you consider the HD SDI on there.
Right.
I find way too many prosumer cameras are relying on the headphone jack input there and HDMI only. So it's when you're moving to the professional realm, you definitely need to have those two things. Those are two staples, I think, of what makes a professional video camera.
Well, once again, we've given the photographer the choice, and basically the XLR inputs, of course, are going to give out the kind of quality that people are looking for with the 48-volt phantom power coming out of both. So you're going to be able to put your shotgun mic or your lav mic or whatever else you want into that. Now, also there are built-in stereo microphones on top of the lens, just behind it, that can be used, and the controls on the side of the grip allow you to mix and match between your camera microphone and your external microphone. But on top of all those, there is yet another option, which is basically your standard mini plug to come in with another external mic. So wherever you need, essentially you can come in on audio to that camcorder, the XA25 or XA20.
It's fantastic. It's a great little camera. I got to handhold that. Now, a bit of advice for camera operators who are using these type of cameras on a tripod. Do we want to have the optical stabilization engaged or disengaged, and why?
Well, in the old days, you would really have to pay attention to that. Basically, you would want to shut it off so that you wouldn't run the risk of having a jiggly picture when you least expected it.
Yes.
But fortunately now, we've evolved to the point where we have a feature on the camera called Intelligent IS. And so a part of the Intelligent IS is that the camera knows when it's on a tripod, because it could detect the lack of movement, and it automatically shuts off the stabilizer because of that.
Wow, that's making it a lot more idiot-proof out there. That's awesome.
Well, it's just taking another load off the videographer's mind and letting him concentrate on the job at hand.
Yeah. Now let's talk a bit about the lens on there. What can you tell me about it?
Well, we've really made a big stride there. In the previous generation at XA10, we had a 10 times optical 30 to 300. We've now gone to a 20 times optical on the XA20 and XA25. That has effective focal length range from 26.8 up to 576.
That's nice and wide, and wow, that 20 times. And then the lens starts at f1.8, is that right?
Yes, and ends up at 2.8, so it's you really haven't lost that much when you go all the way out to the full telephoto. It's really a very, very fast lens.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Chuck. This has been a look at the Canon XA20 and the XA25. We're broadcasting live from the Teradek Cube. I'm Shawn Lam for Streaming Media Producer. Let's have a quick